Amateur Radio Week proclamation. Paul Webster, Coordinator 2000 Field Day Exercise, and Brad Shepard, President. Are they here? Gentlemen. Whereas the City of St. John's has more than 300 licensed amateur radio operators, many of whom have demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing emergency radio communications, and whereas these amateur radio operators donate their services free of charge to the City in the interest of citizens of the City as well as the world, and whereas these amateur radio operators are on alert for any emergency, local or worldwide, and practice their communication skills during the American Radio Relay League's Field Day exercise, and whereas this year's Amateur Radio Field Day will take place on the 24th, 25th of June 2000, therefore I, Andy Wells, Mayor, hereby declare the week of June 19th, 25th, 2000 as Amateur Radio Week in recognition of this important emergency preparedness exercise, and call upon all citizens to pay appropriate tribute to the amateur radio operators of our city. So, gentlemen, do either one of you have any comments you would like to make to that, add to that?
Thank you, Mayor Wells. We'd like to thank yourself and the City Council for making this proclamation and recognizing the efforts of all the amateur radio operators in and around the City of St. John's. And we'd like to issue a public invitation to yourselves and all of the public at large to come along and see what we're doing this Saturday and Sunday starting about 3:30 in the afternoon at the Queen's Battery, Signal Hill National Historic Park. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. Now Lynn O'Grady, come up here please. Lynn O'Grady is our occupational safety and health nurse, and we have the winners of our poster contest, and I'm supposed to read them out, am I?
Yes, you are. Yes,
in what order? Here they are here. Okay. Each year during North American Occupational Safety and Health Week, the City of St. John's Committee sponsors a safety poster contest for children of city employees, open to all children from ages 5 to 12 and counselors, and entries are judged by Deputy Mayor Marie White. The theme for this year was work safety for a healthy future. The winning posters, along with a picture of the artist, will appear in the 2001 safety calendar. So here are the winners. In the 5 to 7 year group, Nicole Hollahan, age 7 years, daughter of Tom Hollahan, Parks Division. And, come up, honey. Now, here's your poster, look. Hold your poster up over there, look. See the camera over there, look. All right? Wave to Mom. I know Mom. Is Mom here? When you go home, you can see yourself on television. And here, look. Here's some money for you. You like money or what? I think we can say the answer to that one is yes. Thank you very much. You're going to get a group shot too? Yeah, bring them all up. All right, 8 to 10 years old. Nicholas Shaw, son of Donald Shaw, Fleet Services. Now, Nicholas, there's yours. You do the same thing. Hold it up there, boy, look, so the camera can see you. Right? There's some money. You got a 20-minute speech for us? No? An 11 to 12-year-old group, Stephanie Hickey, 11 years, daughter of Susan Ryan, Building and Property Management. And here's Stephanie's. Stephanie did a little montage, I think, didn't you, Stephanie? Looks pretty good there, namaste. There you go, look. Hold it up there, see, when you go home you can see it on camera. Spend it wisely now. Put it in the bank for your education. Some chance now. Will they all come back for a group shot? Come on, 3 of you. Come on. Come up. Look, are you getting the seat? Look, smallest one. Here. Here we go.
Move in there now.
Move in there, gang. Done. Keep up the good work there, kids. Oh, to be an artist. That's what Nero said when Rome burned. What an artist dies with me. Irish Student Week. Elaine Drodge and Jennifer Payne, is that correct? Where are they? Now, where's the proclamation? Society of Newfoundland Radio Amateurs, so that's it here. You got one here? Is this it here?
That's a copy. This is the official.
This is the real one? And what, are you locking me up tomorrow, or is it tomorrow or Wednesday you're locking me up?
Wednesday.
Make a lot of people happy. It's only for an hour, Doc. Too bad, hey? Huh? What were you hoping for? About 6 months at least. They're serious, too. They are. They're really nasty crowd, boy. Mr. Penny's laughing too, huh? Everybody finds it funny. I think it's easier for me to read this one, look. Whereas students are eager, capable, and available to work, and whereas students have a variety of skills and talents, and whereas employers and householders recognize the benefits of hiring students, therefore be it resolved, I, Andy Wells, do... Wait now, Mayor St. John's, by the powers vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of June 18th, 24th, 2000 to be observed as Hire a Student Week and encourage all residents of St. John's metropolitan area to hire a student. So tell them what you got on the go now for the rest of the week.
Okay, Hire a Student Week is an annual event, and basically it's to promote awareness of the centre and the services that students can provide to the employers and homeowners. Yesterday we kicked it off with the Family Day barbecue. It was free food, hot dogs and hamburgers, everything in Barron Park. And on Wednesday we will be having Mayor Wells into our centre. We are encouraging, it's supposed to be a type of jail and bail, but our bail is in the form of job orders. So employers and homeowners are encouraged to call in and hire a student. If it's for an hour to mow a lawn or if it's for the summer, anything is appreciated.
We don't find any days in there.
That's up to
He's only agreed for an hour, so, you know.
Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you on Wednesday, 1:30, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, there's your...
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the next proclamation is ALS Awareness Month, and I have Cyril Clancy, President of the St. John's chapter of the ALS Society, and Sheila Power, Director. And of course, ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. I guess it's probably commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, the famous baseball player who died, what, 1938, wasn't it? 38 from ALS. So Health Canada has declared June as ALS Awareness Month across Canada, and whereas ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is a devastating neuromuscular disorder affecting 1 in every 10,000 Canadians, and whereas the ALS Society of Newfoundland is committed to the national goals of the ALS Society of Canada to provide care and to find a cure for ALS, and whereas it is time to work together to raise public awareness of ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, throughout St. John's, therefore be it resolved, I, Andy Wells, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the 24th day of June as ALS Awareness Day throughout the city of St. John's. Now, I don't know whether you have any, either one, if you have any comments, but by all means, if you wish to have some comments, by all means, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'd like to thank you and Council for declaring ALS Day for June 24th and invite all the citizens of St. John's to take part in the first annual Run for Fun for ALS around Kitty Vitty Lake Sunday afternoon at 2. We look forward to seeing as many as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stop again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly but not least, Brian Eaton is here. Where's Brian? Come up here, sir. Brian is representing Canada World Youth, and St. John's has been chosen to host the Jamaican Youth Exchange, and you want to explain what this is all about, sir. So the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. As Mayor Wells said, I represent Canada World Youth. We're a national non-profit organization that does educational exchange programs with Canadian youth and youth from developing countries. This year, St. John's is going to host, we've chosen St. John's to host a Jamaican Youth Exchange, starting September 1st for 3 months. For 3 months, 16 students from across Canada and from across Jamaica will be in St. John's to volunteer their time in local community organizations, focusing on community development and information technology. So I just wanted to introduce ourselves and our presence to the Council of St. John's, and to say that we're currently in the process of looking for organizations who are interested in taking volunteers, as well as families who would be willing to take students into their house for 10 weeks. So thank you.
Okay, and when everybody's here, by all means, bring them down to City Hall.
Great, we'll do for sure.
Okay, thank you. Now, there's some things to add to the agenda. I don't know what there is. There's 6 items, so with those, if there's no opposition, those items will be deemed to have been added to the agenda. And if there's no objection, the agenda is adopted as presented. We've got minutes of our last public meeting of June the 12th. Any errors or omissions in these minutes? No errors or omissions. The minutes are adopted as presented. Business arising, listed the special events ratification of the structure of the committee. On page 37, the Special Events Committee. Discussion on the recommendation. This is that the Special Events Advisory Committee be appointed by the city. The committee chairman will be Robin King, with representatives from in the city, from the tourism, parking and traffic, streets and parks, and representatives are to be invited from the following committees: the RNC, the Fire Department, the Liquor Corporation, various government services, occupational safety and health, or health and safety, the St. John's Ambulance, invited when required, the Port Corporation, invited when required, Metro Bus, invited when required, and any other organization directly impacted by the special events. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favour, contrary-minded, carried. St. John's West Area Girl Guides. Discussion. All in favour. The Girl Guides are going to do a nice mural on the retaining wall at the foot of Shea Heights. All in favour, contrary-minded, carried. Council greenhouses on 61 Hamilton Avenue. Council granted an approval in principle, but there has been an appeal filed with the St. John's Local Board of Appeal by 3 residents of Vine Street against Council's decision to grant the approval in principle, and the appeal board will hear this appeal on July 12th, 2000. So that's there, I presume, for information.
One of the items that are added has to do with the meeting that was referenced in last week's minutes on page 7. Councillor Gallagher and myself with Mr. Snellen and residents of Bryan Street had a meeting to discuss not whether or not there would be an appeal, but what some of the concerns would be and whether there could be methods found of impacting them. So the report that is referenced has been done, and I would like to table it now and refer it to, I would think the Department of Engineering and Planning would be the proper place so that these issues can be addressed. Some of them I think are significant. Others, Mr. Snellen has already agreed to do something about it. And when this of course I suppose depends on the outcome of the appeal, but when they have been addressed, Mr. Snellen has agreed to an additional meeting with staff and the residents to just go over what means can be taken to mitigate some of the impacts.
So that's referred to the...
Engineering and planning.
Any further business arising? Okay, we'll go on. Non-conforming use. Oh, other business arising, okay.
Yeah, page 30, Your Worship. That's the notice of motion I gave last week. It didn't make it to that part of the agenda, but we have a memorandum from Ron Penny. Remember, I had asked that because we get these small requests from volunteers coming through, doing some good in the community, I asked that perhaps this council would consider waiving the fees where volunteers are trying to help improve the quality of life for some group of families or organizations.
Well, where is the notice of motion? I don't see it.
They didn't put it in the agenda. It was neglected. But it is. Well, it's on page 34 or page 30 of our agenda from last week, but it didn't get as one of the items for the. Yes. Mr. Penny gave us a report.
We're waiting for a report, aren't we?
Yeah, it was a one-pager. We have it here. It was tabled tonight. Yeah. And I understand what Mr. Penny is saying, that
okay.
we have done it in very special cases such as the CLB, but not for non-profit organizations such as schools, which are funded by the province. And I can understand that. I think all I was asking was that this council recognize the volunteer efforts of people in trying to enhance the quality of life for small organizations or families or individuals. They come in and get a permit for $40 or $50. And all I was saying, suggesting to this council, perhaps as our contribution to that, is to waive the fee where there's a group of volunteers. I didn't mean school, and maybe I was being too broad by saying that for all registered charitable organizations. It's not what I had in mind. What I had in mind was very simply a group of volunteers, not big schools or big corporations, that if they come in on behalf of an organization trying to raise some money for the East End of the Boys and Girls Clubs or for some other organizations in the city, and they're holding a walk, and there's a fee attached to it for $30. Yes, while there's probably a small cost incurred to fill out the form, I thought that perhaps we as a council would waive that and as our small contribution to that effort. I don't think it's... No, we don't. No, we don't. Right now, they have to pay. Pardon? We have not. Our bylaw states, and we had one last week, which raised the
Clerk has advised me that the only group exempted are the churches.
Exactly. So, Your Worship, I don't want to have a motion that exempts every charitable organization. I don't want to see a school that's funded by the province asking for an exemption for a permit. I was looking for a way that this city could just simply avoid or give the staff permission to waive a permit fee for a group of volunteers.
Yeah, but, well, what's the problem with what you're proposing to do, Mr. Penny, his bylaw?
Your Worship, we at present, on occasion, do, on application, waive permit fees, and I guess my feeling is that we probably should continue on that basis.
Continue on an ad hoc basis?
Yes, because otherwise I think we get in...
What's wrong with that?
Well, the problem with an ad hoc basis is that we had one here last week that, as per Mr. Ryan, and I was aware of it, that is, our bylaw states that we don't waive it. But if we're waiving it on an ad hoc basis, there was one last week that we did not waive, and it was for $32. I mean, but if this council is prepared on a consensus basis to say that if we see one come before us for $32 or $40 or whatever, that we would in fact waive it, I have no problem. We've stopped them from kids having bottle drives for people. So we're coming in for they had a machine, you know, they go around, they're going to raise some money, and it was $18. We wouldn't waive it. But if we're going to do it, Mr. Penny, you're sure that we do it on an ad hoc basis?
Yeah, we have several this evening.
Yeah, the clerk is going to try to help.
One last week that was rejected was one that was passed.
Okay.
Why was one rejected?
Yeah.
Why not? I guess
That, I couldn't tell you that, that's council.
Yeah, how do we decide if we're going to do it arbitrarily? How do we decide what we accept and what we reject?
The one we did last week that was approved, had been approved last year as well.
Well, this is not $1 billion issue.
For the Youth Ventures Program.
You know, I mean,
Tony.
this is...
Oh, that's why we're going to spend 2 hours talking about it.
I know.
For wait till like that.
No,
it's fine.
Well,
Arbitrarily.
okay. All I'm saying is that from now on, if I see a permit here and other councillors, if we think it's
Bring it to our
a
attention.
group of volunteers trying to help, we'll help.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship.
So, Wesley Church?
No.
No. There was a notice of motion that Dennis...
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I'm glad you find it humorous, but I wanted to, with the two people looking for...
Dorothy, we haven't got a bylaw saying you're not allowed to smile at council meetings. We're working on one.
Never
now.
mind.
We haven't got on the books
I
yet.
get my laughs out of you, too.
Do you?
Yeah. Keeps me going.
Does it?
Yes.
Oh, I certainly am delighted. Okay. The only other comment I want to make is on the circus issue. Certainly the number of emails that I've gotten through my office over the past week has been completely supportive. There's been some terribly misinformed people making some comments on open line, but we have a report. We got a report from the, just so you'll know what we're talking about here now. You're talking about mistreatment of animals. We got a report from the Nova Scotian SPCA. The animals are being transported across Newfoundland, the elephants, for instance, in a tractor trailer that has no ventilation, none, and they're chained up inside this trailer. The temperatures on Saturday were at I think at one stage 27 degrees with probably 31 degrees of humidity. The bears that they're transporting, the bears are in a cage 6 feet by 5 feet, 30 square feet is the space occupied by an animal that could probably weigh up to 500 pounds. So that's what George Carden Circus has got these poor creatures incarcerated in while they're driving around Newfoundland. And 90% of the time that they're involved in this nefarious pursuit, this evil pursuit, they're locked up in these cages or transported in these conditions. And it doesn't say anything about, of course, the methods that are used to train them. But the information that we've got, we were criticized by a very silly editorial in the Evening Telegram, then that we didn't allow the Carden Circus an opportunity to make their case. But the documented evidence that we have got, and that I've received since, certainly didn't justify listening to anything that the Garden Circus had to say. And there's going to be, I think, there's going to be some charges laid in Nova Scotia when the circus turns around on its way back. So that's just to set the record straight on that one, and I'll set Bill Rose listeners straight tomorrow morning when I call in. Any further business arising? All right. The notice is published. No non-conformity there, I'm sorry, 414 Black Marsh Road and Shoal Bay Road. You're moving it?
I don't know if there's a motion to be seconded there. I was looking for a public hearing on that particular one.
Well, it's been moved and seconded that it be approved, but a motion to move it to a public hearing is in order, Councillor Coombs. Are you making that?
Yes.
Is there a seconder that it would be moved to a public hearing?
Second.
So a debate, first of all, Councillor White, on the merits of the public hearing.
Worship, on
Yes.
this, the 6 people who objected are all relatives, and the other people there, by the way, this business was active before that area became part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been in business for a long time. We all had a submission as to what that is proposed to look like. And I spoke with the applicant several times, and he certainly wants to do this properly.
Mm-hmm.
He has been in business. He has employed people. He's corrected some of the deficiencies, because what he was trying to do is make enough money so that he could improve the site.
Mm-hmm.
I see no point in this going to a public hearing, because it has been sent to the abutters, and if 6 people there are relatives, obviously they don't approve of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get the same information which we already have, and so it's just as well for us to make a decision.
Mm.
But if you insist, he's gone around to the neighbors too. But everything he tries to do, the same neighbors object. You've heard that story before.
Yes, Councillor White, and on many occasions you've been on the other side of the motion too. So
That's right. It depends on
yes,
the details.
depends on
I
the
vote
votes.
on issues, not persons.
Councillor Coon.
Your Worship, I've stood in this chamber before and have supported Mr. Murray with regard to some things he's wanted to do. I'm not saying I'm not supporting him at this point in time. I do as well know that there are other people outside, family members of that one family, who have contacted me regarding some concerns they have. I spoke to Mr. Murray just before I came here this afternoon. I expressed to him that I had been speaking to some other councillors, and basically there was a concern there as well. So I think the best thing to do is to have the public hearing so that Mr. Murray can explain exactly what he's going to do, and the people who object can explain why they have objections, and hopefully that we can have a meeting of the minds. It's simple as that.
Further discussion? Question. All in favor of the motion to refer? Carried. I'm sorry, did you have a...
Yeah? You want to refer to a public meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that's better than rejection. So just delays it a couple of weeks. He can live with that.
The 8 acres off Shoal Bay Road. Second, discussion, all in favor? Contrary minded, carried. Public hearings, we got none. Committee reports, finance and administration report is there. If you got any questions, I would take the questions.
Your Worship.
If not, can I have a motion to adopt the report?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mr. Gallagher?
Your Worship, I'd like to reference page 55 here. An item concerning the pension status of Councillor Wyatt. At the request of Councillor Wyatt, I've been asked to make reference to it tonight in the public meeting.
No, Councillor Gallagher, look,
Yes.
I explained to you at the committee meeting, we are getting a full report on this issue, and at that time, this issue will be dealt with comprehensively when we got all the information, including Councillor Wyatt's concerns.
Yes, I'm aware of that, and it's not my intent, Your Worship, to enter into the intricacies of the concern, the justified concern of Councillor Wyatt. I'd just like to mention the fact that it was discussed for the public information here at the Finance Committee, and as you are aware, the letter, the fax rather, dated June the 14th from Mr. Henley and Associates on the pension report was tabled, and a memo dated February 13, 98 from the City Clerk, along with a copy of a letter.
We have none of that documentation here, sir. It's all coming to council with the full report.
Yeah, but in out of courtesy and respect for a fellow councillor, I've been asked just to make sure it's entered into
it will
the
be,
public
it will be entered into the full record. There's no,
Yes.
There's not suggesting if you don't bring it up, it won't be dealt with, are you?
But no, nobody. You're saying that, sir. Don't
No,
put
you
words.
said it.
Don't
You
put
said
words in my mouth now.
You said it.
I'm quite capable
Just
of.
to make sure you said it will be entered into the
I'm
record.
quite capable of standing on my own two feet here. This is the public chamber, and I have every right as an elected member, sir, to bring forth what I deem is appropriate and what's in the best interest not only of the public, but any confrere or colleague that I sit with at the council table. I'm continuing the January 21st, 98 memo here from Alec G. Henley Associates, Ray, the City of St. John's Mayor and Councillors Pension Bylaw. I asked at the Finance Committee meeting, I brought up that Council consider Mrs. Wyatt's pension status given her unique situation. And you will recall, Your Worship, at the meeting that she willingly suggested that she retire from the meeting. However, the matter was deferred pending submission of a report by William Mercer Associates on the Mayor and Councillor's pension, which the Chair, you yourself, Your Worship, noted that it be referred to Council within 30 days. And the reason I'm bringing it forward, nobody is hiding anything. We're wide open. Since I've come down here, everything is on the table. It's a very open council, and I'm delighted. It's a wonderful experience to know everything is on the table, and everything is in minutes, and everything is recorded. I'd like to mention the fact that Mrs. Wyatt has given 25 years of dedicated service to this council over the years, and she does deserve consideration. And I'm delighted to hear that within 30 days the report will come into the chambers, and at that time we'll be given, every councillor will be able to vote according to their own conscience and according to Mrs. Wyatt's unique situation. So I'm not going into the details, but it was her wish that it be recorded in the public chamber. Thank you.
Any questions, further questions on the Finance Committee report?
On item 4, there's a very brief mention of paper that was prepared by staff on tax incentives for heritage buildings. I believe that was prepared at the request of council. The recommendation is simply that the committee ask that this matter be referred to council for consideration, and I don't know what mechanism was going to be used for that consideration, but I presume then it means it is open for discussion. There are 3 recommendations, or 3 possible options that have been identified by staff as a way of possibly providing some financial incentives to encourage the appropriate restoration of designated heritage buildings. One is the Heritage Capital Grants, which would be similar to a program we had in place for residential buildings some years ago. One is the special tax classes for heritage buildings, and the third is the tax-back heritage grants. It seems to me that this is by far the most simple. It does not involve any direct loss of revenue or cost to council. It has been used successfully in other jurisdictions. And I would like to recommend, because what staff are asking from us right now is for some direction to determine whether further work is warranted, and I presume on which of these options. So I would like to recommend that staff be directed to provide some additional detail on option 3, the tax-back heritage grants, and that also that this paper be referred to the Heritage Advisory Committee for comment, because some of the details that will be looked for, I think the Heritage Advisory Committee, with the level of expertise that they have, would be able to give council and staff some very valuable advice.
Actually, the minutes of the committee should have reflected the fact that we accepted.
So I need a seconder for that motion.
No, well, as I say, the minutes of the item number 4 should have reflected the fact that we accepted the recommendation of the Director of Finance on that issue.
But there is no recommendation, Your Worship, except that it be referred to council for consideration and that they were asking for direction. So I am prepared.
Director of Finance, Councillor Duff, for the record, I believe, recommended option number 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
It
Is
says
that correct?
this memorandum is brought forward for the information of the committee and to determine whether further work is warranted. But there was no decision made at the committee level. So I've just made that motion.
Options, the
It is
heritage
seconded.
tax-back grants appear to be the best. If they have the best, least direct cost, and administrative appears to be minimal. That was the recommendation that we decided to adopt, I believe.
It was not decided. It was decided to refer it to...
You were at late getting to the meeting.
I was at that part. I was 5 minutes late, Your Worship, and now that you mention that, you look at about 35 pages of minutes, and after 5 minutes, about 3/4 of the meeting was over, and at 15 minutes, the entire meeting was over. There was very little discussion on any item, including this one, and I am responding to the comment. The memorandum is brought forward for the information of the committee and to determine whether further work is warranted. I don't remember, and it is certainly not reflected in the minutes, that any specific direction was given. So it is for that reason I've made this motion in the public chamber today.
It's part of the minutes. So I moved and seconded.
It's
All
moved
in
and
favor?
seconded.
Contrary carried. For the record, on each of those items, as chairperson of the meeting, I went down through every single one of these items, and I asked for any discussion. You can ask it. Mrs. Duff, for the record, I asked every single person there if they had any comments on any of these items, and I will stay there as long as people want to comment. There were no, we went through that whole agenda in 20 minutes, it is true,
15.
to my great surprise. But there was nobody commented on any of those items.
That is not true, Your Worship.
Including staff. Well, you got...
I did request that it be referred to the Heritage Advisory Committee. That is not reflected in the minutes.
You were 20 minutes late.
I was 5 minutes late, Your Worship.
All right. Well, we'll have a... I guess we got to have a
And
clock.
in fact, there was no quorum until I got there, so a lot of these items are not even legally on the table.
There's a quorum, as far as I'm concerned, when the chairman is there and the meeting is set to go forward. Committees of council, for the record, do not make policy. They recommend policy to council. When any matter comes to this meeting, a majority of council can reject, accept, modify, or amend any committee recommendation. So as long as I'm chairing committees, once I'm there and we got a staff to start, we're going to start the agenda. I'm not sticking around waiting for 20 minutes for a quorum.
Worship, there are bylaws, which I took the trouble to review, do say that 2 are required for a quorum for a committee. Now, in the last 3 years, there has been frequently occasions when it was a little difficult to get everybody together for one reason or another, including today at our special meeting when it took 15 minutes to get all the councillors present. And normally, simply as a matter of courtesy, since the other members of the Finance Committee were there, may have been caught up on the phone, or as Dorothy Wyatt was caught up with a person who had come to see her, as a courtesy, normally you try and see if they're there and say, would you please come in, we want to start the meeting. That has happened in every single committee meeting I've attended, except the Finance
That's
Committee
correct,
meeting
Mrs.
on
Duff,
Friday.
because I'm not waiting 20 minutes or a half hour for committee meetings to start. 5 minutes into the meeting, we're going to start the agenda.
You were half through it at 5 minutes into
Further
it.
discussion on the agenda.
Your Worship, I would like, for the record, a ruling. I would like to ask the City Commissioner, being a new member of Council and not too familiar with the rulings, I would like to ask the Commissioner, is there a legal requirement to have a quorum at committee meetings? What does the city say, or bylaw?
Yeah, Your Worship, I don't have the bylaw in front of me now, so I'll certainly report back to the next council meeting on that.
I think the city clerk would answer that question.
We have to have 2 people in the meeting.
We had 20 at this one.
Refer that to the city clerk for a comment.
We had 20 at this one.
You had one member of council report.
You need 2.
You need
All in favor of the report?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to the deliberations and recommendations of the Finance Committee? It's a very undemocratic committee that dealt with all these matters in 20 minutes. Nobody opposed. My goodness. Planning Committee report. Councillor Dean.
One is a rezoning for Signal Hill Road, and there's a diagram up there, a map showing what's going on. What we're looking here is that a municipal plan amendment and a rezoning for the area. It should be noted also that there would be a commissioner appointed to hold a public hearing on this matter. So I would like to move the recommendation to rezone this, and as on page 106, for council to move ahead with this.
Discussion further? Nobody wants to discuss it? My God.
Planning.
All in favor?
Aye. And your worship, there's one other thing. This is more or less for information. This is the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000. This is basically an update. And I think the biggest thing to notice when the new act comes into effect is that we, as a city council, will be able to appoint our own commissioners.
Yes.
Rather than now, the province does the appointing, and then they set up the hearings and everything else. But under the new act, we will do that. The appeal period will be shortened to 14 days. Ours is not much more than that. And also, there's something in it about cost recovery. I think we're getting into that ourselves also. Anybody who has plans and applications in prior to this becoming law, their applications and their plans will be dealt with under the old regulations so that they won't be fooled up. Okay.
On the motion, all in favor? Contrary-minded?
The
Development Committee report
I'd
is
like
there.
to move the acceptance of the Development Committee report. There are 4 items, or 3 items, I guess. One is an application for a roof veranda for Mr. Joe Critch to Divine Place. The second is the development agreement for Ann Jeanette, the Trail Subdivision Stage 2B, 23 residential building lots off Major's Path. The third item is the East Coast Trail Association application for Crown lands, and that parking development be added to the capital works list. And the fourth is a rejection of a proposed outdoor eating establishment from the City Center Hotel. This has been before council and rejected previously. It's so moved.
Further discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry?
I have a little comment. The rejection for the proposed outdoor eating establishment, Center City Hotel. I'm rather pleased that the Development Committee decided to reject this, because we have on record 3 petitions, and they've been coming in so long that some of the people who are on the petition have died. So I'm very pleased that they recalled the fuss over this and why it keeps coming back. So at the Center City Hotel, would you ask Mr. Edwards not to bring that back again after the next election?
Councillor, well, you can't stop somebody
He
from
told me he
making an
wasn't going to
application.
vote for me, but I don't mind that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Special Events Advisory Committee? George Street Festival, Wayland the Blues Festival, Canada Day activities. There are 3 items, I think, is there? And there's a fourth. No, there's 3 items there. Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Regional Fire Services Committee, Councillor Combs.
Report, very quickly to go down through them. The items there talk about the status of the firefighter recruits and how we will extend the period so as to confer with them with regard to the hiring of these 14 fire recruits. The 50/50 Municipal Capital Works Program, excuse me, this is the purchase of a new pumper, Your Worship, that we are hoping to get in place and paid before 2001. Also, the Policy and Procedure Manual will be brought up to date and some outdated policies removed. Additional position, this is one that used to be in place and was since taken over but has appeared, let's put it this way, to be less efficient, and so it will be picked up this year with what the Director of Regional Fire Services is saying, an anticipated overrun in the budget. The administrative offices, again, Your Worship, you can see there that we've been moving the offices from where they were up in Fort Townsend, that we've had to incur approximately a $3,000 per month cost on a lease for a duration of 1 year. Central Fire Station, what we're asking to be done there is that the Director and others would continue to develop a conceptual plan for that, and we would ask Your Worship that you, in consultation, I suppose, with Minister Ferry, would perhaps talk to him about any type of cost sharing that could occur. But again, I want to make quite clear, this does not mean in any way, shape, or form that it's going to happen tomorrow. What it means is that we're just simply trying to get some type of information with regard to what the provincial government is prepared to do. Medical and physical fitness, we are looking at there as per the MOU number 3 of the current collective agreement, putting in the fire stations appropriate equipment and so on, so that our members of the firefighters can use time appropriately to get and maintain themselves in shape. Communications, Your Worship, what we're saying there again is that we would update our communication systems to make it more reliable than what it is today. Vehicle apparatus replacement strategy, this is where some long-term planning here. We are suggesting that we would adopt, as we have done in the past, this past budget year, basically looking at block funding of $500,000 for the next 5 years, so that the regional fire department can plan appropriately with regard to vehicle replacement and what have you. The Goulds Volunteer Fire Department, we approved Mr. Perry Hollett as the Assistant Chief of the Goulds Volunteer Fire Department. Some other issues related there is that we entered into a more formalized agreement with the St. John's Airport Authority with regard to coverage. And finally, Your Worship, the management analyst, this is being proposed, and we have more information coming back to us. This is not a recommendation, but rather just giving you information that the Director of Regional Fire Services will bring back more information on that position. Moved and seconded.
Discussion? All in favor? Development permit list is there for your
Move to a add-on item, a report of the Parks and Recreation Committee with respect to the Southside Hills Nature Park.
Was that here?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Worship, it is there.
Well done. Okay, good.
Your Worship, this council made a commitment to the Southside Hill Nature Park and to the organization that by this date we bring back to council our recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Committee with respect to going ahead for the construction of the Hilltop Nature Park and our endorsement of their proposal. The Parks and Recreation Committee are in fact endorsing the concept of a Southside Hill Nature Park, and we believe the City of St. John's ought to give it its support. Having said that, there are a number of items that we believe have to be cemented prior to the outright final letter going in. The biggest issue that we're concerned with, and really one of the primary issues, is the maintenance of that park. In future, we know what the cost of maintenance is. We have a large walking trail throughout the City of St. John's that, as the years go on, the maintenance is a very, very expensive and very significant and important matter. We want to make sure that this group can show us conclusively that they have the financing in place and know where the money is coming from exactly to maintain that walking trail on the south side. All we're saying is that if they cannot show us that financing, then the trailway, the ownership and maintenance, would revert to the city. In other words, the city would own the trail and we would maintain it. It's the only way we could be absolutely assured that we are not have a substantive bill sometime 5 or 6 years down the road, because all trails, no matter how good they're built, they have to be repaired and they have to be maintained. That's probably the most significant one. There are other ones, such as, you know, free access to the public, and they have adequate parking. None of them are of any major consequence that could hold this group up whatsoever. So in principle, the committee supports the application of a nature park on the Southside Hills, and we would ask that prior to that final letter, perhaps leaving this council or your office, that these 5 or 6 items simply be addressed. So that's moved, Your Worship.
Second? Discussion?
I would like to reference the Southside Hilltop Nature Park. This has taken significant discussion over the past 2 years and here recently, and I'd like to commend the efforts of the Park and Rec Committee for really getting down to brass tacks, because they were kind of anxious to get this project off the ground. It will make a very significant contribution to the people of the Shea Heights area, because there's literally thousands of tourists who go up each year on their way to Cape Spear, and a lot of people in the outdoors who use those particular trails. I would like to reference the concern over the maintenance of the trail itself. I'm led to believe, and I'm subject to correction, that there's approximately 22 miles of walking trails within the city of St. John's at the present moment.
No.
Roughly? What would you estimate it to be?
3 times that much.
3 times? Well, let's take the principle of maintenance of the walking trails. I think at the moment the city of St. John's does the maintenance on those particular trails, so I wouldn't hope, and I don't think it would be, that the maintenance of the trails in this nature park would be a stumbling block to the advancement of that particular park. So I'm delighted finally that this is coming to a head. I would suggest, Your Worship, that these things can be worked out between the city solicitor and the associate commissioner, director of engineering, with the parties concerned, rather than it having to come back and forth to council and being delayed. Thank you.
I'm familiar, most of us are familiar with the history of this. The Neighbourhood Improvement Association, under the president, Ed Yetman, they have been cleaning up that site, developing that site for 9 years. All they want from the city at the moment is an endorsement so that they can seek other available funds from other sources, primarily federal and provincial government. They want to continue. They're very anxious to get started so that this can get off the ground for this season, for the tourist season. And they want it expedited. Also, there are many people up there who are hoping to get some employment from up there because they know the area. And they have not received any money. I'd like this to be expedited as quickly as possible. Mr. Fred Hann, who is the architect, has given his time, as has Mr. Pat Kennedy, the lawyer, and all sorts of people up there. And it has been developed. I was up there last week, and it's really reached a good stage now. And all they want is a letter saying, we endorse their proposal. At the moment, they're not looking for money any more than the other, as Councillor Galgay pointed out, the trails, etc., which exist. You're quite right. It's triple what you suggested. All the other parks, they are maintained. All the recreational facilities. This has already been done by volunteers, so that's really all they want. And the Neighborhood Improvement Association is the only organization representing the Southside Hills, as they have ever since they were annexed to the city. So you may have other people looking for other, identifying themselves as organizations, but this is the one organization that has been elected, and they've done a lot of work. So anyway, I'm pleased that it's moving, but I'd like it to move to yesterday. And that's the reason.
That letter will be hopefully in
If it's going to roll this summer, if it's going to be significant this summer, but then it should be taken on quickly.
Further discussion? The comment I have is I think I told you, I don't know, 3 years ago, I walked across the top of Signal Hill, and from the radio tower down to Fort Amherst, it's about a 2.5-hour walk. And there's an awful lot of wildlife up there. And I'm wondering what will be the effect on wildlife if the area is opened up to human encroachment. I mean, it says a nature park. If you get an awful lot of people using the park, it doesn't become...
That's right, and the city has cleaned up areas all over where people dump things in these areas. And the Neighborhood Improvement Program has had...
So I'd like to add
the days, garbage days. They've picked up a lot of stuff. They've brought it to Robin Hood Bay. I don't know really what's wrong here, but
there's nothing wrong, Councillor. It's better to do it right if it's going to be done. So I'd just like to add a section H, Councillor Colbert, with your permission, that the issue of mitigation measures for wildlife be addressed as well. Is that all right?
That was discussed, and there's no problem putting it as H. We support that. It was discussed, and it was generally the consensus, both from that organisation, from the councillors at the meeting, was that they will be doing everything that's possible to ensure the mitigation of encroachment on wildlife, and in fact making sure the way they do the trailway and the work they do helps to enhance it, or at least to maintain its presence. But yes, add H also, yes, I have no trouble with that.
Some really neat little beaver houses up there.
Yes, yes. Any other question, Your Worship?
Okay, with that addition?
Yeah, Your Worship, I will just for the record say that I will be asking Mr. Penny if he in fact will write Mr. Fred Hand tomorrow so that they can be working on this, and as soon as they have those letters, they have our approval. They have our, not approval, they have our full support.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Okay, the permit lists are there, is that correct?
List. There's one item there that I want to mention. That's the last item there, Ernest Williams.
Oh yes, that's one of the ones that...
West End Construction.
Yeah.
We're rejecting this, but I don't think we can. To be quite honest, I think if you read the regulations that we have...
He's been there since 1988, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's there since 88, and it says here that when we turned it down, we said that it was a non-conforming use, and we used the idea of legally in existence. Legally in existence here has two parts to it. One says that at one time a permit was issued by some authorized authority, right?
Yeah.
And the other one says in existence.
Yeah.
So as of April the 20th, 1995, that man was in existence. And in 1995, anything that was in existence was then accepted as legally in existence. So what I'm saying is that he was legally in existence of April the 20th, 1995, so he should be okay.
Well, I think we should certainly not...
Can we bring it back next week?
We should take that out, defer that for a week, and refer it to legal for review. Is that
Because
what you want?
Yeah, we turned it down, but I don't think we could have turned it down. I think the man is already in existence legally.
So with the exception
according to our definitions, yes.
That's only there for information.
That's all it is, yes.
So refer that to Mr. Penny.
Because I know he was told, the man was told at the time to come forward with some affidavits saying that he was in existence and operating a business down there since '88, and I think he came forward with almost 20 years. I know myself that the piece of property that he is on piece of property I looked at one time as a possibility of buying myself,
Yeah.
and I know that he was down there at least 10 years.
Okay.
Okay?
The plans are there, Councillor White, you have a question?
I do. On the government institution, Salvation Army Grace General Hospital, site work. Now, I realize that the work that was being done up there was removal of the old tanks.
Yes.
Is this an application to replace the seniors' building that was up by Fort Townsend? Has that come in?
I have no idea. What are they doing, Mr. Penny?
I
or Mr. Jason?
understand.
Do you know?
That the building is going to go up there.
There's a parking lot. We're putting a parking lot in.
Yes, that's where it's going.
Yeah.
The site work, is this still associated with the removal of those tanks and in case there's any contamination and straightening that out, or is there a proposal to put that building there? There's a bit of concern in the neighborhood.
Well,
Can
this
I get
is
an
for a
answer to
parking
that?
lot, and that's all I know.
A formal application in yet for the building?
Can't hear you.
We don't, to the best of my knowledge, we do not have an application in for the building. What's being done now is site work, removal of the oil tanks and so on. But we have not received the plans for the development.
You haven't got it?
No.
Okay, well, I think the neighbors have discussed it with the developer. But anyway, before that gets too hot, can we, if you get something in, can we be alerted? There's not an objection up there.
No,
They
but
just
Councillor
want.
White, if there's an application for a building there, I presume that they will have the courtesy to come to council and advise us. They don't have to because it's provincial government, but I would assume that they would, at which time we would certainly advise the residents in the area and take whatever action on their behalf they feel is necessary.
I am just expressing concern. I'm only the messenger. I'm expressing concern so that if the building department, if they don't know about this concern, they now know. Okay? That's my message. Okay.
I have one.
Yeah.
One inquiry there, Your Worship. The Sobeys Properties Limited on Topsail Road, Kmart, that whole area. I know that's being redeveloped. Is that what this? Do we have plans for that? They have plans to redevelop the whole supermarket, that building, that total building. So I'm just wondering if that's what that one is all about, or is it just site work on the parking lot, or what it might be?
That's in Mount Pearl.
No. Topsail Road.
So there is a proposal in to redevelop that site, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's in reference to that particular proposal?
Yes.
Okay. Yep,
Further
it's fine.
discussion? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Your payrolls and your accounts are there. Are there any questions? Requisitions, payrolls, and accounts. Councillor White, you got any questions this week about the water or anything? Are they still buying that water over on the 4th floor? Can't hear me. All right. All in favor? Tender for general insurance. Discussion, all in favor. Contrary-minded. Parking meters. We're buying new parking meters. That should make the citizens of St. John's jump for joy. Twisted Air Technology. How about that? Sounds like a rock band to me. They're making parking meters on the side. Twisted Sister. Was it once a rock band? You're dating yourself, Councillor O'Keefe. All in favor? Fireworks for July 1st. Ours are very inexpensive, are they not? $10,000 we're spending on these.